Okay, so what I'm going to do on this video, which is the join and create, I'm actually going to show you kind of behind the scenes of what happens when you complete the start here. So by now you've watched this and you've submitted it, but just to show you, right? Because I'm going to actually walk through this as you would as a student, but also, again, show you the back end of what happens. So I'm logged into another Chrome tab as another user, a GitHub user, okay? Not my normal one like yours that you would being invited into our GitHub organization. Okay, so the first thing you've done is you've watched this video that I haven't produced as of this point yet, right? You started the assignment, you gave me, right, your GitHub username. Okay, that's what it looks like. By the way, if you don't know where to find this, by now you've heard about GitHub, you understand that you have to create an account. And then, actually, I'm in this already. So in this case, if I'm logged in as myself, of course. So if I come over here, like this is the username that you're going to provide to me. Okay. So that once you provide that name in Canvas right here, when you submit it, I'm just going to, and you could do it in comments or whichever, it doesn't really matter at this point. Go ahead and submit it. And then what happens is, and what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to drop out of the student view. Okay. I'm actually going to leave it. And as instructor now, what happens is I come in here and I will get I need to do this. And by the way, I grade every day, but at the beginning or even before the start of the semester, if you're submitting this assignment, I try to do it as quickly as possible. So what I do is I grab that and I go, I'll give you some message here, right? Most likely, like, I'm going to go set you up, right? So boom. So you've gotten a message now. But what I do on my side is now I come into the organization and I say people. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite this member in. Okay. Oh, that's right. For various reasons. Okay. So I'm going to invite your GitHub username into our course organization on GitHub. Okay. So here's what happens. And I'll just show you from the Gmail perspective. It should come in here in a second. Right? You should get that invite. Let me make sure I completed the process because sometimes, oh yeah, I did miss a step here. So because I had been in here before, but again, this is really just invite and reinstate. Okay, so now you will get, so here's what you will get. You will get in your, again, it may not be Gmail, it may be some other account. I don't require a Gmail, although I highly recommend it. You will get an invite like this. So if for some reason you miss this invite, because if you click on this invite and then it says join, and it's good for 7 days, so you need to do it as soon as you've asked me and as soon as you've seen that I replied back, okay? Because you can't do the rest of the work until you've done this step. All right, so now what you want to do is you could click join here, totally fine. But if for some reason you didn't see it and you were looking at my instruction, let me come back here, right? I'm going to go back into the course. I'm going to switch back to again, what you see, right? Because what you will see is that you've completed this step and you're ready to go here. And you will see actually a grade with a comment, and that's to let you know, okay, you've been invited and you're good to go. So if you come in here and I haven't done this step or you didn't see the invite, what you can do is you can't, until I've invited you, do anything. But if for some reason you miss the email, you can just click here and let me just show you what happens. Now, what will happen here, I'm going to go ahead and just copy this link address, although you could do this because I'm going to do this here. And I could do it on that tab or I could just paste it here. Okay. I should do paste and go. That's so much easier. And I see that basically that invite, but now because I'm logged in as my GitHub username, right? I just hit view. I guess I can just hit view here and then just join. Okay, so that's the first step. And in case I do the detail here, so in case you run into any issues, I've seen various things that can happen. Typically, the stuff I talked about, which is right, you either went too soon, I hadn't set it up, or you didn't see the invite. Okay, so we got you past that. So let's come back over here to now to Canvas, right? So now it's time for you to set up. Now you've joined now. Now we're going to create 2 repos. And if Git and GitHub is new to you, that's okay. It's a great time to learn. You're just going to need to have these set up. And as we move further into this process, it'll become more and more clear. But it's basically these repos we're going to create out on GitHub. And then we're going to clone them into your local system. But let's just get this part done, and then you'll see as it works its way through. So there's actually a naming convention I want you to use. Your first name, lowercase, the first letter of your last name, dash, and then private or public. Now, what this means is you're creating 2 repos, okay? And I give you the example here of what they will look like as far as their naming, because I want you to follow my naming conventions. Naming conventions are a big deal in coding. So I'm going to walk you through how to create these 2, and then we'll continue with the next video. All right, so I'm going to go over to here, because now that I'm in this organization, and just a word about that, there's a difference, right, between your own repos on your account and the ones that you have in our Git organization. So it's basically like an organization is basically just a group within GitHub that you create repos in, but you can also create them on your own. But for this class, you'll create the required 2 inside the organization. So just make sure you're inside that organization. Okay, right there. Am I on the right one? Yeah. So notice before there was a button there that said new. You probably didn't. I went by it fairly quickly. But you can also see it here. You've been added to the repo, right? Get some information. But over here, you can see no matter where you've clicked this new one. But before you do that, you want to select the organization and then hit new. Okay. So this is where we're going to create both a private and a public. Okay. And so let's just create, it doesn't really matter which one. So my first name, the first letter of my last name, dash, and PRI for private. It is available. It tells me it's available. And then I could say Rio Waller's private repo for CI. You don't have to put all this. I'm just doing it to give you an example. 93 JavaScript. Okay. Okay, so we know this one's private, and I'm going to go ahead and add into this a git ignore and a git add. Okay, now on the git ignore, we'll learn about this as we move through the course, but it's basically going to be a file that tells our local repos what kind of things we don't want it to track. Okay, so for now, it doesn't really matter. Unfortunately, the editor we're using is not listed. I'm just checking because in case it did, I'm surprised it hasn't been here. Visual Studio is, but not Visual Studio Code. So we're going to update this later. And I'll show you more about this. So for today, just select maybe the first one. You're going to see how we change it as learning our Git workflow, right? And then we'll say we'll add a README and we'll add this. We've set it just to verify it's set as private, and we've followed the naming conventions. So go ahead and hit create. So what this does is it creates that repo inside of the organization for you, for your private one. And now we're going to go do the same thing for the public one. And by the way, before we jump there, you could go in here and look at and this will probably make no sense because it's something that you learn as you learn local development. So don't worry about that. But the README is pretty clear, right? This is allowing you, and hopefully if you haven't taken my CIT82, because we start with creating these markdown files. This is what an MD file is. And these are good to update your documentation. You'll see this as we move into the course. Okay, so now we're going to do that process again. And this time, notice the blue button's over here, but we're going to do it. And you can see what's cool here is it says private. So we'll go ahead and hit new again. This time, though, we're going to create this using the same naming standards, but this one will be public. So the difference is private is only between you and I, public is between you and everyone else in the course. So this will be public, some content here. I'm going to add again a README file. I'm going to add again a get ignore file. Again, I'm just going to choose the first one because I'll be changing this later, right? And then we go ahead and hit create. Great. Okay, so now we have both of these created. I just want to show you what will happen is as students add, you will be able to see their public repos, but not their private ones. And you can also see for yourself yours because you will see it as private here. So let's go back now. Okay. So now what happens, and this is the video you're watching right now, right? So what you're going to do here is once you've done this step, then you can say mark as done, right? I've done this step, which is I've created my repos. You've created your repos out on GitHub. So you've joined the organization, you've created the repos, and then you can hit next for the next step, which is in doing some install and some setup. Okay. I hope this helps you out. You can always reach out on Discord if you have any questions about this process. Do know that if you're submitting your GitHub username late in the evening, I typically am not on, but if I am and I see it, I will go and do it as quickly as possible because I want you to get this done, this process done, and get help if you need it. But notice that it actually requires you to step through the step by step. Thanks, and I'll talk to you soon.